Welcome back to Under Oath. I don't like to talk about tragedy. I think I enjoy a lot of the brevity, or we call it the easy humor, we have in talking about things like stupid laws and stupidness. In our neck of the woods, Osceola County, a 15-year-old with 3 buddies in his car, an SUV, busted through a stop sign and killed a grandmother, 3 grandchildren, and seriously injured the grandfather. And everyone's wondering what's going to happen to the kid.
Absolutely tragic story. Absolutely tragic. Can you imagine being the mom or the dad of those kids? The mom, that was her mom that died. So losing your mom
and her 3 children,
all 3 of your kids at the same time. How horrible would that be?
You know, we have crimes.
There isn't a punishment strong enough for that.
No.
And yet, he probably was just being a stupid kid.
Accident. It's an accident based on a crime. It's a crime, but it's an accident based on a crime. Now, normally we saw cases where, for example, he didn't have a license. He was 15. So he'd just been charged with, misdemeanor. If he had been pulled over, it would have been maximum 60 days. That's what he would have done. Maximum 60. He probably would have even done it.
Yeah. It would have been a fine. It would have been fine, take a driving class or something like that.
But when people talk about DUI and why DUI is so bad, it's because they don't go to the next level. They don't go, I was so drunk, I killed people. And that's why Mothers Against Drunk Driving and everything else got it to do this. Now, most people, when they hear this, they're going, well, he didn't have a license. It was an infraction, but he took some lives. So what should happen? Well, we know what should happen. Basically,
what do you think should happen? Because I don't know that we all agree on what should happen.
Okay. He's going to be charged with, I think it's 6 felonies they charged him with. 2 driving, they charged him with 2 counts of driving, felony driving without a license that caused bodily injury. And then they charged him with 4 counts. They're going to charge him with 4 counts of negligent homicide, vehicular negligent homicide. Or vehicular homicide is what they call it.
And they're charging him as an adult, yes or no?
No, they can charge him. They can charge him as a juvenile and still have him do the time. I mean, Florida. For example, a big thing happened in Miami where it was a DUI manslaughter, and it was just one person, and the kid wound up getting sentenced. 16-year-old wound up getting sentenced to 16 years. This kid's looking at anywhere from 60 to 80 if they run it consecutive instead of concurrent. What do you think, man? He said they say
if I'm the mom or if I'm that family, I want all the sentences run consecutive. I want this kid to never see the light of day again. That's what I want if I'm the family.
Now the mother said something. The mother always says, "Oof."
What caused the kid to not stop at the stop sign? I get
speeding, just blew right through it. Now the mother said something, and it really broke my heart a little bit. She goes, "I forgive them. I forgive him, but I think he should be punished."
I heard that. Yeah.
I want you to know something. You are extremely noble, beautiful human being to be able to say that.
I couldn't do it.
No.
I couldn't be forgiving at all.
You ended my life by doing this. People don't understand that children are a part of you. I think of my children. If you took my 2 kids out of the equation,
and all the birthdays they were ever going to have, and all the Christmases they were ever going to have, and all those memories you were going to make, absolutely not. I would never be that forgiving.
Never be the same. And when they talk about that penalizing somebody keeps somebody else from committing the crime, and they go, "That's ridiculous. That doesn't happen." Oh, it happens. If one person doesn't
deterrent, the punishment as a deterrent.
If another kid finds out, wait a minute, this kid wound up doing 50 years, and if one life is saved because of that, I'm good with that. And if I'm the parent, I never want to see this kid again. I never want to hear a story. I never want to see a TikTok. I never want to see a video of him going to 7-Eleven. Well, my kid will never get to do that again. My kids, not just one kid. You took 3 children and a parent out of the equation. Now, as lawyers, let's argue. That's what we do. I'm the lawyer. We did juvenile law. Is one stupid mistake, can it cost you your whole life? As a child who we agree, you're not even responsible enough to go to an R-rated movie.
Yeah, but people don't die when you sneak into a movie theater before you're supposed to see it. And that's the risk you have with these types of activities and behaviors. Yeah, I think the kid's got to be charged as an adult, and I think he's got to spend almost the rest of his life in prison at a minimum. At a minimum. You can't cause this kind of damage and then just 4 years later be out on the street running around, going to movies and hanging out with your friends again. Just makes no sense.
I have to put myself back in the position of the juvenile public defender, the juvenile defense attorney. And I have to look at this scared kid who just saw everything blow up in his face. He was just, I took my mom's car. I mean, I think of all the
He couldn't
times.
have blown through the stop sign at like 20 miles an hour, Jeff. I mean,
It was an
let's be
SUV
honest.
too. It was a
So-
bigger car.
he had to have been going significantly above the speed limit.
Let's put you in that position. You had a motorcycle growing up. You drove that thing pretty recklessly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So the math,
I don't think you should be allowed to have motorcycles until you're like 25. And I had one when I was 18. So that tells you something.
so 1 or 2 seconds was the difference between potentially that happening to you
You mean me getting hit on my motorcycle and dying?
or you causing an accident. Somebody trying to avoid you taking somebody else out. We all are young and stupid. And I'm trying to put this into context because every time I look at my child and I go, God, I want him to do this. I want her to do this. I go, well, geez, these kids are so much better than I was. And I think about how fortunate I am to be where I am at today with the decisions I made at that age.
You and me both.
We were lucky. We were fortunate. And the only difference is that, is it a deterrent? I guess that's how I got to view it. Is crime a vengeance where the victim, you serve the time for the victim and not for the crime itself?
Well, I think it's both. I mean, it has to be both. It has to be a deterrent, and it also has to be punishment for its own sake.
DUI we talked about. The difference in DUI and DUI manslaughter is just getting in an accident.
Somebody didn't die.
Okay. We had a president. President Bush had a DUI. So you can become president, and he just got lucky that nobody died in his
Yeah. You can do a lot of things. You can take a lot of risks, and if as a result of those risks, you don't end up killing somebody, yeah, your life is pretty much normal. That's not the standard I don't think that should be applied. Like, hey, this kid was doing an activity that a lot of kids do. Sure. But he caused something that not a lot of kids cause, and that is the death of 4 other people. And there's no getting away from that. You have to be punished, and punished severely for that.
Do you think the quality of his attorney is going to determine his punishment?
No, I think whoever the judge and the elected state attorney is, wherever that case is being handled right now, I think it's going to depend a lot on political pressure.
I don't know. You and I both know that they can go forward with it. And if they want to try him, they can try him. I mean, if he gets a lesser included instead of the big crime, what happens? He could pull a Casey Anthony where they try to overcharge and it blows up in their face.
Well, they got multiple witnesses. I mean, even in his own car. I mean, the kids were with him. They're going to testify that
None of those kids are hurt, though. That's a weird thing. None of those kids got hurt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm thinking about a lot on it because I've made some comments and as a parent, and then I have to ask as an attorney, how do I feel? And it's easy to go grab that mob mentality and go, you should definitely do this because this is the way I feel.
Pitchfork and torches? Yeah.
You know, that's one people don't know. A lot of people don't know about our judicial system. I can't, during any part of the trial, convince the jury to feel the way, to put it into their eyes. You know, go, well, what would you do? How would you feel? We can't do that because it's unfair to the person being tried. I don't know. It's a tough topic, and I think everybody wants this kid to suffer because they're doing, how would I feel? And not going that
Well, they want him to suffer not because of what he did. They want him to suffer because of the results of what he did. No one's mad that some kid snuck the keys out of, mom or dad's purse or off the wall or whatever. That's kind of expected. But when you do that, to operate in such a reckless and terrible manner while you're doing it, that's really the sin. And if he hadn't hurt anybody, if they just narrowly missed each other, probably nothing but a slap on the wrist for this kid.
Let's talk about the final result. We know this kid's going to do time. Supposed to do time. Political,
Should, yeah.
A lot of reasons. If nobody heard about it, if it was never in the news, he'd probably do a lot less. Now, here's the problem. Let's say he gets the same amount of time as the Miami kid did at 14 to 16 years. We know what he's going to come out as. Absolutely useless piece of society. The math is there. Yes, one out of every 20 people coming out of like long-term prison stays does something with their life. But the other 14 just reoffend and cause more crimes. And we know the reason why they're reoffending is because they have no life after being sentenced this long, that they can't get jobs, they can't do things that regular people could do.
So you would excuse the behavior because the punishment would affect him the rest of their life. The punishment should affect him the rest of his life. If he's lucky enough to get out in 14 to 16 years, I don't care how hard his life is after that. That's just part of his punishment.
He's going to cause more anguish. That's what happens. You commit crimes. Who are the crimes committed against? Innocent people. And
he'll go right back to prison where he belongs. If he can't learn from this incident and he comes out after killing 4 people and he's going to break the law once he gets out, he probably should have never gotten out in the first place.
What do you think you learn in prison? Think you learn to be a better person?
You can.
Stop it.
What do you mean stop it? How many people come out of prison with a GED? There's all kinds of turnaround stories. All kinds of turnaround stories. So what?
Because you know what?
So what if the math is against it? It's the individual person. You're not talking about math. When you say math, you're just talking about statistics. You're not talking about an individual person. This individual, should he choose to come out on top, he will. It depends on his attitude, depends on his faith, depends on a lot of things that are within his control.
I buy lottery tickets. I don't expect to win. That's math. And that's what I'm looking at in these situations. You surround somebody with crappy people, they become crappy people. They always say it's simple. Name the 5 closest people you are in your hand, and trust me, you're almost exactly like them. Your socioeconomic background, everything you do, your morals are all based on the 5 people.
So don't punish them at all then?
No, I think we just have to take that into account.
Well, how do you take it into account? You give them less? So your argument is if you're around those crappy people for a less amount of time, that matters?
I don't know. I honestly don't. I don't think a punishment is the only thing to view here. I think you got to view the future. I think
whose future? What about the future of all 3 of those kids and the mom? That's 3 graduations.
It's an
that
accident.
She's not going to see. High school graduations, college graduations, maybe marriages. How awful is it that mom can't attend her kids' weddings?
It's still an accident. It's not an intentional crime.
That's why he's not going to be executed. Sure.
You don't get executed for vehicular manslaughter.
For intentional crimes, you do. Sure you do.
It's just tough to think about. Because now that I'm looking at the other side of this, you think it's a tragic accident.
It's a tragedy. That's true. But that should not cause you to heap an undeserving amount of mercy on somebody who doesn't deserve it.
We charge people for less for intentional sex crimes. This kid could wind up doing, if they add it all up, he could do 30, 40, 50 years.
They won't do that. They'll run it all consecutive.
So you think he's going to do 14?
I think he'll do less than 20.
Well, he earned it, I guess. I guess that's where it all falls apart.
Well, you said something earlier, how you can't put the jury in a position of what if it was you? But that doesn't mean I can't do it. What if it was you, Jeff? What if it was your kids? Would you be advocating, he was an accident and you just put him in prison, you're going to turn him into just another criminal thug that's going to come out and commit more crimes? You don't care about that if it's you.
Then swap that. What if my kid was the one who did it? We all feel a little differently when that happens. First, most wealthy parents I know ship them out of the country, send them to a place with no extradition rather than serve 20, 30 years in prison. You know, parents defend their kids all the time.
Yeah, and you can't get mad at that. I see that all the time. I saw an interview one time, and the news folks were making fun of this mom. She was mad because her son was committing an armed robbery at a convenience store, and some well-meaning citizen who happened to be in the store shot this guy in the head. Right, and she was on TV saying, "Oh, you didn't have to shoot him. You could have shot him in the leg or shot him in the arm." And they were kind of laughing about what a ridiculous argument was. But what do you expect the mom to say? I mean, that of all the people on the planet that is going to advocate for someone not getting treated harshly, it's going to be the parent. Of course, you're going to say that if it's your kid, but it's not everybody's kid. It's one person's kid, and everybody else is not that person.
You do realize, based on where the accident happens, where the crime is committed, is where we determine the justice, the penalty, everything else like this. Like, we can agree if it happened in, let's say, Los Angeles, he would have served less time rather than a conservative county like Osceola.
Maybe. I don't know that even California is as much as they love their criminals over there, even this would probably be too much for them.
Well, look at New York. For example, the guy who went crazy on the train. And the Good Samaritan, the ex-military guy, saves everyone's lives. They charge him, with basically murder. I mean, it does change the way people feel. And maybe we need a standardized form of government. Maybe we need standardized crimes. Maybe states shouldn't determine what their crimes are.
Whose standard?
I think a national standard.
Whose standard gets applied nationally? The New York, California standard? No, thank you.
Well, I didn't say that. I said I think the majority. I think you'd have to have a certain majority vote. And I think most people on murder and things like that, we could all agree on the basic nature of it. Now,
you would think that, but there's a whole bunch of people in New York and California that don't think that way at all.
Well, I think there's enough people.
They want to empty
differently.
the prisons in California, Jeff. They want to empty. It doesn't matter what crime. Hey, let them go. You agree that's too far, right?
So again, in California, this kid might just get some therapy or do 3 years in juvie.
Would that be justice? No. Let me help you. No, it wouldn't be.
Well, if I was this kid.
Justice is getting what you deserve. That kid deserves harsh punishment.
Be interested to see what this kid's parent has to say. We heard from one parent. Let's hear from another parent.
Why?
I think it's important.
Why would that be important?
Why is it important to say,
my kid's been an absolute nightmare his entire life. He never listens to me. That'd make it worse.
Or, the family feels terrible. We really, our feelings go out for this other family. I mean, I think dialogue is more important than just standard punishment. I think there needs to be a dialogue about this. I think this kid should have to go to every school in cuffs and everything else, and they should bring this kid out as an example of what not to do, and have him sit on stage in the jumpsuit and like the Scared Straight, and he should have an opportunity to change the world around him and to be able to influence us.
Yeah, that's great.
But we don't have
it.
Yeah, we don't have it. He's just going to be stuck in this thing. Our sentences now.
You don't know that. That could happen.
They're not going to bring him out. It's a shame. We don't do that. We're not. Remember, judges used to have, let's call it huevos, where they do these sentences where they'd force this parent to stand on the side of the street with a sign. This is
once you commit somebody to a correctional facility, the judge can't determine how they're treated there. It'd have to be some kind of cooperation with the correctional facility, whatever one's handling it. What county is this? Osceola?
Osceola.
Okay.
So it's going to be under the new state attorney. That they booted Monica. DeSantis got the state attorney in.
Do you mean DeSantis?
Did I say that right? DeSantis. I don't care. He's screwed enough with our laws. I have issues with the man. See, everyone's good with him until they start screwing with their livelihood. But he booted the state attorney out of Orlando because she didn't support the death penalty. And I can understand that. I get that. You know, people should definitely, if we state of Florida is about the death penalty, we
Well, I
should
don't
have
think
it.
he booted her out only for not supporting the death penalty. She also gave sweetheart deals to people who didn't deserve it, or was derelict and just refused to prosecute certain crimes.
Yeah, I get it. But the person who took her place is a lot more conservative and will probably make sure that this kid does not get off easy.
All right, so Jeff, a little bit of the same topic, but from a different angle. Parents' liability in a situation like
The
this.
mother of the kid.
Yeah. Did mom leave the kid? Did mom know that this guy regularly borrows the car for
Had he done it before?
joyrides?
Yeah.
Has he done it before? I mean, he had 3 friends with him. I don't think that this was probably his first time driving the car. At least doesn't seem like it would be. If we have 3 friends with him, it seems like it's a regular occurrence. Does she know that he had the car? Was it with her permission? Don't get caught. What do you think?
Does this fall under like negligent child?
Well, it falls under
Abuse?
general negligence.
Yeah, but that's
So
not a
if
crime.
I had a car and I let you borrow it and you ran into somebody, I'd be just as responsible as you.
Are you talking my civil responsibilities or my criminal responsibilities?
A civil?
Okay, a lot of people don't know civil and criminal. Civil, you write a check. Criminal, you could go to jail. You can actually write a check in criminal too, but you can't afford it, so they don't make
Well,
it.
you'd have to, for a criminal, she would actually have to almost put the keys in his hand and say, hey, good luck.
Or accessory after the fact if she tried to hide it.
Yeah.
I've been hearing this a lot, that parents have to be culpable. Well, in Florida, we normally don't do that unless there's a show of evidence that she was aware he was doing this. If she's not aware, but it's, you know, if she wasn't watching him, if she was a bad parent, that's not enough. So I don't know her culpability. I don't know if there's a little extra information out there that she threw the keys at him. Have a nice time, honey. Barring that, I don't think they can hold her responsible for it civilly and especially not criminally.
Well, if she knew that he takes the car, he's taken the car, say, let's say
Yes.
2 or 3 times in the past, civil responsibility or no?
Yes, I think so. I think, you know, your duty, it's like a gun. You know, it's like something else. I have a weapon. I have something else that I know that this person, I don't secure my liquor after knowing he kills the liquor cabinet every day or something like that. Yeah. Civilly, I think you could hold him.
And if he had taken a gun and shot all 4 of the people that died, you wouldn't even have to know that he had a propensity to do that. You would just have to take your gun because you failed to store it safely or secure it.
So I think as far as the mother being responsible or the father, I don't know if they have either. I think they'll probably walk, barring some ridiculous piece of Perry Mason evidence delivered at the last minute.